Welcome back to the couch. I'm Des.
And I'm Jay.
And this is our Unbreakable review. Coming up next.
With those two bald guys.
Unbreakable is a 2000 film written and directed by M. Night Shyamalan. It stars Bruce Willis, Samuel L. Jackson, and Robin Wright Penn.
David Dunn, the sole survivor of a horrific train wreck, finds himself at the center of a mysterious theory explaining his consistent physical good fortune.
When news of his miraculous fate is made public, Elijah Price, a man whose own body is excessively weak, tracks him down in an attempt to explain his unique, unbreakable nature. We're reviewing Unbreakable, Des. This is the first time you're seeing this, right?
Yeah, actually it is. You know, it's funny because I think I purchased it when the DVD first was released, but I never actually got around to watching it. It took me 20 years and a little nudge from this guy right here to get me to watch it.
I had not seen this film in at least a decade, if not more, so I was kind of going into it with fresh eyes. I only remembered so much, and I had forgotten just how moody and engaging. It's compelling and enthralling right from the get-go. We're back in the 60s, the opening scene, and Mr. Glass, aka Elijah Price, is being born.
I've never seen this. It appears that your baby has sustained some fractures while inside your uterus. His arms and his legs are broken.
This is horrible. Help the poor kid.
Yeah, you just want the crying to stop.
M. Night puts you in the baby's shoes in a way, and then you're immediately in mom's shoes, of course, when she finds out why her baby's been crying. How horrifying that must be for her.
Taking you from the baby's emotional perspective into the mother's emotional perspective, I think a lot of that was done with the brilliant camera work and the way that they shot some of those scenes. There was a third emotional perspective. And there's also the doctor is like, what the hell's going on? I'm trying to figure out what's wrong with this baby.
I didn't recognize that actor who played the doctor, honestly, but he was great.
But yeah, he was great.
Yeah, all that expression in his face. I mean, his performance is just, there's a lot of nuanced stuff to it. It's very subtle, but it's real. Like, you feel like this is really happening. And
I totally agree. It's a hell of a performance for like 4 lines. Another scene in the movie that really grabbed my attention as far as the camera work. This is when he's working in the art museum.
We're by appointment only.
I got a card from this store.
Congratulations, you have a mailbox. The exhibition isn't for 2 weeks.
This one was under the windshield wiper of my car.
A lot of that was shot like through the window, so you kind of like, if you were outside that building walking past, you can kind of turn your head and get like a glimpse of what's going on
inside. That's what you'd see.
Yeah, that's exactly what you would see. So I thought that was a brilliant way to do that.
We go to the 70s for a little while. He's sitting in front of his television and he's having a conversation in the living room with his mom. The camera never moves. It's just a static shot, and we've got the old school tube television on the right side of the screen. And I realized after the end of this scene that the entire thing, all the dialogue between mother and son, had happened in this small little TV. And I didn't even notice because I was so engaged at what was happening.
All the scenes that are like that, they all have one theme in common. I mean, Elijah Price is in every single one of them, and there's some kind of glass.
There's a restaurant scene where David and his wife Audrey, they're trying to reconcile their relationship, and so they've gone out to dinner. And it just very, very slowly moves in through the restaurant. Not just the camera work, but the use of color there. It's just, he gives you the time to soak it all in.
Right.
And I love that about this film. I would be shocked if M. Night Shyamalan was not inspired greatly, in particularly with Unbreakable, by John Carpenter. We get a scene where David Dunn is walking into the closet, and we find out there that he has a gun, and that's important for the story. And we also find out he's been keeping newspaper clippings of this accident he had back in high school. And while he's doing this, he comes in the closet, he flips on the light, and I noticed the bloom from the light bulb and everything. It almost mirrors the shot in Halloween when Michael Myers breaks into the closet to get at Laurie, and we've got the light bulb dangling. It's the same kind of bloom, it's the same kind of shot.
I'm guessing because 20 years ago when you saw this in the theater, a 20 years younger Jay, I'm not going to give your age away or anything, but a 20-year younger Jay probably wasn't the same film buff that a 20-year older Jay is currently. Because, I mean, if you'd have shown me this film 20 years ago, I probably wouldn't have liked it that much.
Okay.
Or at least I can promise you I would not have appreciated it the way that I do now. We're grown-ups now.
That's right.
That's what it is.
We're trying to be.
We're trying to be.
Let's talk a little bit about the characters, especially Glass. I found him to be really compelling. Samuel Jackson.
He is Elijah Price.
Yeah, he's just great in the role.
Yeah.
Bruce Willis is too, of course.
Yes,
They're
yes.
both great. There's so much foreshadowing with Glass. Bruce Willis is a security guard working at a stadium. And he comes in to talk to, I guess it's a receptionist or secretary of some kind. She gives a line of dialogue that is telling the viewer, by the way, this is what's going to happen in the movie.
I read about you in the paper. I was in an accident once too. Horse almost trampled me to death. Had him put down.
She's talking about Glass. She's telling Bruce Willis' character, this is what you're going to have to do. You're going to run into this villain. He's going to bring in this storm in on you, this accident, whatever, the train wreck in this case. Because of that, you're going to have to put him down. That's exactly what happens. That's just classic Shyamalan storytelling to me. And then he does it again when we're in the gallery.
It's a classic depiction of good versus evil. Notice the square jaw of Slayer, common in most comic heroes, and the slightly disproportionate size of Jaguaro's head to his body. This again is common, but only in villains.
Notice that Glass's head is made to look like Samuel
Yes.
Jackson because he's got that hairdo that's larger. It's not quite a fro or anything,
Yeah,
but
it's kind of like a little wop top a little bit.
Yeah, and it's skewed. And so it makes his head look larger than it really is and kind of misshapen. He's telling you exactly what's going to happen in this movie.
Subtly telling you, he's the bad guy.
Right.
If Elijah Price is obviously the bad guy, then I guess that means that David Dunn's the good guy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and the cool thing about this character to me is he's just your average guy that has to come to grips with the fact that he's not so average, and he's just never was that average, you know. And
Right.
it's kind of cool to go on that journey along with him. And there's a lot of Superman, Lex Luthor parallels in there. You know, Superman having kryptonite as his kryptonite. Obviously, that's why they call it kryptonite. Well, water would have been David's version of kryptonite. He's learning that as we go throughout the course of this film. And as well as Elijah, he's the puppet master pulling the strings behind the scene. He's kind of the genius, the evil genius in that regard. And he's also really fragile, being given that one punch from Superman, it's a wrap.
Yeah, you flick Lex Luthor, he's dead.
Exactly.
If Superman wanted to do that, yeah.
And it's the same thing with Glass and David Dunn. We find out that David Dunn is way stronger than he realizes. And we knew from the very first opening scene in this movie that Glass is incredibly fragile. Hence the name.
Glass's mom is talking to David Dunn, I think.
Towards the end, yeah.
And she says,
There's always two kinds. There's the soldier villain who fights the hero with his hands. And then there's the real threat, the brilliant and evil arch enemy who fights the hero with his mind.
that's very much Lex Luthor. He physically cannot stand up to Superman, obviously, but it's the intellect. And that makes it compelling. So they have a very interesting, it's not just fist for fist type of dynamic.
You always say it better than I say it.
Not once we cut it. When the train wreck first occurs and we find out that David Dunn is the only survivor. It's another very much a Carpenter inspired scene to me. The camera is just set in one shot and there's a surgery going on in the foreground.
Why are you looking at me like that?
Your train derailed. Some kind of malfunction.
That leads into where David Dunn is now walking down the hallway in the hospital,
Yes.
having to face all the family members of the victims. So much is conveyed through showing the audience and not telling. It's beautiful filmmaking, I
Yes.
think. You're watching the reaction of the family members of the victims, and in Bruce Willis's reactions, everything is expressed through just facial expressions and movement.
The contrast of the son running up and embracing his dad, just thank God you're alive. And right after that, the wife kind of subtly kind of gives him just like a little hug and almost like a little peck on the cheek, like, hey, glad you're here, that kind of thing. So you know right away there's trouble in paradise there.
Yeah.
They're not necessarily seeing eye to eye, and they don't have to necessarily tell you that. He showed you everything you need to know right there in that scene. I thought that was brilliant. But another character I wanted to touch on was the son, was Joseph. I thought he was an interesting character. From this standpoint, I think most kids that have their father in their life at that particular age are fans of their father. Their dad's a superhero anyway. If you go on the journey through the shoes of the son, he's getting all this affirmation, going from the scene from where he's lifting the weights and all of a sudden he can lift everything that's in the gym, that kind of stuff. to the point to where he even pulls a gun on his dad thinking that he'll be able to survive. I mean, he really believed it. So he was such a interesting character to walk in his shoes. He's probably my favorite of the secondary characters.
Probably the most tense scene in the whole film when Joseph pulls the gun.
Don't do it. He'll die, Joseph.
Just shoot him once.
Joseph, listen to what your mother...
Don't be scared.
Joseph.
They all end up on the floor basically in tears, and you feel all of that.
Everyone in the cast did a magnificent job of conveying those emotions across the board.
Robin Wright's character Audrey comes to David's door because they're sleeping in separate rooms at this point.
Have you been with anyone? I mean, since we've been having problems. The answer won't affect me. I just need to know. You know, it won't affect me either way.
That was just brilliantly done on her part, on Willis's part. You want David Dunn, you know, you want him to say something at the end too. He just stands there listening to her, which is great that he gives her the time to express herself. But then at the end, he just lets her walk off, and I'm just like,
yeah,
dude,
you just missed your window, dude. What are you doing?
Say something to your wife right now. Like, that's when you say it, dude. And then he just quietly shuts the door, and you're kind of like, what?
Yeah.
But I can't say enough good about that scene.
Well, look how much emotion it evoked in us and just reliving it right now.
Yeah.
That's the point.
I want to talk about the sound design and the score a bit.
Okay.
Sound design especially, I noticed this time watching it how much white noise there is, just ambient noise going on throughout the film, and how much it's almost kind of a character in and of itself. Bruce Willis is going into the closet, takes out the gun, takes out the folder, all that again. But while he's looking through that folder, the white noise amps up like 2 or 3 times louder than it has been. I feel like I'm in David Dunn's shoes there because I'm in the room because of all this white noise. It's great. And I think that is set up, I interpret that as to make you feel like you're in this story. You're part of the action that's going on.
I think with the white noise, there are certain scenes where it did feel like an extra character in the room, and it had that same effect on me as well. But there was just too many scenes where they didn't evoke the right emotion in me. I just felt like bored when I knew I shouldn't be bored. And I think that was a result of some of the music choices and some of the score in there, and maybe even that white noise that you had mentioned. I think it's a combination of all those things. It's just the effect that it had on me. Maybe if I watched it for a third time, I'd appreciate those little subtle nuanced things. But I just remember off the first 2 times that I watched it, I remember thinking to myself, there are just parts in it, there's just too many parts in this film for me where I felt bored, where I knew I shouldn't be, because the story is so compelling. Overall, I just didn't think the score was all that great for me. It was fine. I didn't love it.
I loved the score. I thought it was superb. James Newton Howard did it again. He's a great composer. If I have to say anything negative about the score, there's a couple moments where they use kind of looped music with a beat and that kind of stuff. I think it's great in the opening when the title card for Unbreakable and all that comes up. But then it kind of comes back a couple times. It sounds very much of its time, very much 20 years ago. And so that dates it quite a bit. Thankfully, most of the score is actually, orchestra though. So for me, it really works.
20-year-old film, I mean, there's going to be some dated stuff. What you going to do?
I wanted to mention there is humor throughout the film too. It's not all dramatic. David Dunn's laying in bed and he's reading the newspaper. Bruce Willis, has to sneak out and try not wake him up. I'm a dad myself, so I've had moments like that, so it really hit home. It made me laugh, and there are probably 4 or 5 moments like that throughout the film. It's very quick, very subtle, nothing that makes you have like a gut-wrenching laugh or anything, but it put a grin on my face, and that's what it was supposed to do, so it succeeded.
Yeah, and you need those moments because this film's dealing with some serious stuff. You need those little subtle, lighthearted moments to kind of even things out a little bit.
I wanted to mention a quick moment that I really like. It's after David Dunn has done his first heroic act, and it's been raining and pouring. It's the middle of the night. Worn out and tired, comes home and he hangs up his security jacket, and M. Night purposely gives us a shot to show us he's purposely hanging this thing up as if this is his uniform for this new hero role that he's taken on. So it's the metaphorical Superman hanging up his cape at the end of the day after a job well done. And I like that Shyamalan pauses to take that moment. He didn't have to do that. I thought it was a cool character moment.
Let's talk about the ending a little bit. For me, I thought the ending was spectacular. It was great. It was such a great payoff. I had the same emotion in me that was drawn up from when I saw the ending of Usual Suspects. It was the same sense of satisfaction that I got. I thought it was great.
The first time I saw it, I didn't expect the film to end right there. So we get this great reveal. It's an amazing ending, but it took repeat viewings for me to actually appreciate that ending. Because even though I did like it, and oh, that was a cool twist, I wanted to see more. We just got the Batman meets his Joker moment, and now I want to see Batman and Joker kind of do their thing. And then I didn't get that. So I think once my expectations were adjusted to go, this is a prologue to a superhero story. That's when the light finally flipped on for me.
I thought there was going to be more movie when the film was actually coming to its close. I thought there was more movies. So I was right there with you. I felt the exact same way. You're ready for more and then you don't get it. I think that's part of why the ending is so dope.
I recommend it to you. Watch it more than once before we review it if you have the time. Because
yeah, you did. And you're right.
In a comic, you know how you can tell who the arch villain's going to be? He's the exact opposite of the hero. And most times they're friends like you and me.
I guess it's that time. Let's sum up Unbreakable.
Very compelling story, very compelling characters, very well directed. The cast was excellent. It was very well acted. There are some pacing issues with it for me, and I wasn't the biggest fan of the score. But all in all, I really enjoyed the film. I'm going to go ahead and give Unbreakable 3.5 out of 5 shiny bald heads. And if you don't like my score, I'm going to give you 5 of these cross your lips. Just kidding.
Unbreakable is definitely M. Night's best film. I don't have much negative to say, and that could not be more true than this time watching it. I just gained a brand new appreciation for how well crafted this film is and how Carpenter-esque it is. I'm going to give it 4.5 out of 5 shiny bald heads. That was our Unbreakable review. We really hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, so join us next time, right here on this couch.
Last time on the couch, we reviewed Bumblebee, so if you missed it, now's a great time to check it out. If you enjoy what we're doing, please hit that like button and subscribe to receive alerts when new videos are posted. Don't forget to click the bell icon. Thanks for joining us on the couch. Hi, Jen again! Yeah, read 'em and weep, buddy.
Damn it! It's like the third time in a row. What time is it? Hey, our show is on. Hurry up! Hurry up! Hit record. We're gonna miss it. We're gonna miss the beginning.
I'm trying. What villain turned superhero after using his flatulence to save the president's daughter from a burning building? Mr. Gas? Correct. Hey, we're talking about you on the TV.
We used to have some pretty exciting adventures back in those days.
You know, it reminds me of that time we got in that big old battle with Mr. Personality at the asylum. Remember, outside in the parking lot?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He sure wasn't on because, especially that fourth personality that he had.
Yeah.
What a jackass.
Yeah, you know, but he sure got you pretty good, breaking almost every bone in your body and leaving you for dead. Those are the good old days.
Hey, buddy, you gotta be careful. You're gonna break every bone in my shoulder.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hey, so tell me, whatever happened to that guy?
Mr. Personality, let's see. Last I remember, I heard one of his personalities murdered 2 of the other personalities, and he's been in prison.
Greetings, super idiots. It is I, Mr. Personality.
No way, we were just talking about you.
Yeah, crazy coincidence. It's been too long. How you been, buddy?
Wait, what? Enough with the pleasantries. And what in Darkseid's name is wrong with you, Mr. Gas? You were an evil mastermind. Now look at you, hanging out with Gitter-Dunn. A superhero, for Thanos' sake. Pathetic.
We're getting way too old for that stuff.
Well, I hope you're not too old for this. I've kidnapped the president's daughter, and you have 2 hours to save her.
Only 2 hours?
That's not enough time.
What?
We'll never make it at our age.
Okay, 3 hours, no more.
Can we make it 4? Need another bathroom break.
Fine, but after 4 hours, the girl is toast.
Will our youth-challenged heroes get out of the house in time to save the day? Or will Mr. Personality finally get his revenge? Tune in next time to find out. Same ball time, same ball channel.